second. We have a full agenda today. We have 3 hearings today, so we'll try to move things along as we can, okay? But everybody's going to get a chance to speak on whatever topic they want to, okay? You gentlemen have any conflict of interest, anything on the agenda today? No. Okay. Before we approve the agenda, there's no additions to the agenda. I just want to change a couple things around to help a couple people get out of here a little earlier that are associated with the county. So I want to move number 19 on the agenda to the next one after 5. And I want to move number 12 on the agenda down to after 16. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make that motion.
Second. Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. You guys had a chance to look over the claims from July 28th.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the claims as presented then?
Second.
Moved by Darren, second by Charlie. Approve the claims from July 28th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. So the agenda is approve the minutes of July 19th. Any changes, Mark, to the minutes? Any guys' questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay, now we're going to go to what 19 would have been. Todd DeLean, Shelby County Chamber of Industry update.
Morning, guys.
Morning, Todd.
Just 2 or 3 quick items here, mostly all school related. Starting with the 2022 backpack program is being administered by Shelby County Community Outreach this year, and they're really in need of some monetary donations to help them purchase some gift cards for these families, so they can use those gift cards then to go buy school supplies here. So anybody in the public who can, please do either just mail it in or stop by SCCO and drop off a check. They could really use some additional help because this year the number of families that applied for the backpack program is way up compared to normal. So
It's a good thing.
Another thing about the school programs are SWITA now has its own website. So that's new this year. It was never that way before. You always had to go through the SWIFTCO website to find your SWITA information. So it's called SWITA.com. And one of the main things about that is a lot of people arrange to have SWITA transport their kids back and forth to school if they don't fall within the bus routes. And now you can just go online and do that. You don't have to call SWITA and go do all that. You can just go online, get your kids signed up. You can even make your payments for the charges right there online. So that'll make it a lot easier for parents. And then finally,
Todd, will you have that like in your weekly update? So
it was in the last Friday one, and we'll keep it going until school starts. Yeah.
Does the school know that they could put something out?
I will check. I would think, but I'll check with them because I'm not sure if they can do or not. So.
Okay.
And then just the last thing in regards to schools is just a reminder that the facilities improvement meetings continue to go on. Again, like tonight, they'll be in Panama, but next week, Thursday the 11th, will be in Portsmouth for people there at the Portsmouth Club. And then August 23rd will be their first meeting here in Harlan, and that'll be at the Methodist Church.
So they're actually, superintendent will be coming their next board meeting the 16th and give a short presentation, well, upcoming bond issue.
Good, yeah, it's, the last time we did this, we kind of rushed through it. Now they're doing a really good job of going out to the communities and presenting what needs to be done, so.
Very transparent.
Yeah, they're doing a great job with this. So that's it. Just, like I said, there's some school stuff going on. It's August. It's time to start talking about school. So. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd. Next on the agenda, the secondary roads report with a few lettings that need to be taken place, some action items. Brandon Burmeister is our county engineer.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm not going to say the podium.
Oh.
So, first thing on the agenda for us is a resolution for participation in the SS4A, which is Safe Streets for All grant application. With the infrastructure bill that came through, there are grant opportunities for money, but we have to have a Safe Streets for All safety plan in in order to apply for the grants. You can still apply, but your chances are pretty low if you don't have this in place. All the counties are bundling together to put in one grant application. So they like a resolution. I think as of last Friday, there was 54 that had it. So I don't think it will be 55, but I think they're looking for all 99 or close to. The lowest grant that they would give is $200,000. So one safety plan doesn't cost that much. So bundling everybody together, I think we'll have a good shot at getting it. Then we can apply for grant money regionally or just Shelby County or anything like that. So
Okay.
no cost to the county. It's all coming out of highway safety plan money and the grant for the rest of it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for the grant application?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. You guys have any other questions for Brandon on that subject?
Talk to him
If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
The next on there, there's a couple amendments to some utility permits that the board had previously approved back in December. Spoke with the gentleman. The changes to them are the name changed from Brightmark to Kirkland R&G LLC, and then they upped the size of their line from 3 inches to 4 inches. There's a couple road crossings for that project that the area was doing. I talked to Marcus about if they needed to submit a new permit or if we could up the size, it really wouldn't be any change to us, just documenting that's the 4-inch line instead of 3-inch line. The construction would be the same.
Yeah, I think
a lot more, so.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the amendments to utility permits for Kirkland's RNG LAC permits 2021-12, 29-1, and 2021-12, 29-2? Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. Any other questions? That's for Brandon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. You have quite a few things today, Aaron.
I apologize. I know we talked about the F-24 project and then some asphalt patching on M16, trying to let those in line with the DOT project. They finally got back with me last week after I put it on the agenda to let it in November. They got pushed back to January. They had some staff changeover. So my recommendation would be to push these letters back to January. I don't think it will affect us going from November to January, just for the fact that putting them in with the DOT letting.
That's the most important part.
Yes, they're going to move a plant in for the DOT project, so we'll definitely save on that. So my recommendation would be table these until January, right? Just to make sure the DOT is actually going to let in January.
No, smart move. Okay, so we'll table that action.
And then, I guess I have a brief update. Going to post the roadside position today. Bryce retiring.
Okay.
Open that up to the public and in-house and see what response we get. And then hopefully get that person hired and have Bryce have a chance to train them.
What kind of qualifications are you looking for that?
Oh, a 4-year degree in biology and some experience identifying weeds. And there's quite a few qualifications.
And you've updated that job description?
I have, I shared it. I shared it with Marcus. I shared it with Mike Galloway. And then shared it with the different so. Other than that, we're ditching up on Linden, adjacent to the golf course, the water and the shoulder, fixing that. The bridge crew finished decking the bridge on 1700 West and 56. They're moving the redact bridge that's on 1300 East of M47. The blades, they're kind of pulling off the gravel. It's pretty dry and dusty to begin with, so we'll just be out fixing complaints as they come in. Guys are really hatching trucks with excavators as they're hitching, stuff like that. we're scarifying a piece of oil on the red line today. We actually scarified several citizens who no longer wanted to maintain it. So get a couple of those out and then send out some letters to have people fix theirs. So and then we're starting today, I believe, on 1400 right west of Highway 59. We'll be replacing the wood box culvert with CMP. Corrugated culvert starting today. And then the dirt patches getting fired up and we'll be out patching pavements here starting probably tomorrow. And then I guess just something to report. I had some surveyors out on F58 and they dug a hole in the pavement. I guess this is just kind of a PSA. I know we gotta look for survey pins, but and this has happened before, I had to get after them, but if anyone's watching this or anything like that, when you tear a hole in the pavement, please cold patch it back in. And I realize you gotta dig for survey monuments, they're ways down, but putting the shoulder rock back in the hole, it's not gonna stay.
Put it back the way it really was.
Yes.
Have you contacted them, let them know that?
I have. So I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that. I know there were some people that were upset. I talked to them on Friday. Just if anyone sees that, let us know. We'll go out and talk to them. We're preserving the public infrastructure for the citizens that travel on every day. So
I'm surprised they didn't contact you ahead of time to let you know that they would.
yeah, generally you don't get contracted by surveyors when they're looking.
I mean, when you're looking at pavement, it's different than gravel.
Right. And this isn't the first time it's happened where I've had to get after a surveyor, but it's frustrating. But,
The ditching you're doing on Linden,
Yes.
the golf course out there has some concerns about that. Did you get with them and?
I talked to Tim Kinkle and Bob Easton.
Okay, all right.
I talked about Bob yesterday, so, we'll make sure it doesn't run out on the golf course and stay in the ditch, so.
I didn't know totally what the concern was, but.
Yeah, that's kind of there's a driveway tube down there it's kind of, the inlet's silted in a little bit, we'll get it dipped out and plug it over the bridge, so.
Brandon, what about the other thing on the agenda you have here on the depth patching?
That was with the.
Tabled also?
Yes.
So they both go together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the asphalt plant will provide the asphalt for the patching.
Okay.
So we'll get a better price on the patching too, if we would.
Okay, so we got both of those tabled until this fall sometime?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably 2 months from now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is consideration of engagement letter with Allers County's Tim Whipple. How this come about, Marcus had sent me an email after our last meeting, and I'll just read part of it to you. In his opinion, the board should consider hiring outside legal representation with an expertise in this area with the ordinances of the law, to be present at the ordinance readings and to represent the county in event litigation on these ordinances could ensure. Do you want to speak anything more on that?
No, obviously this is a very specialized area of the law.
Very complex.
Very complex. There's federal regulation, there's state regulation, obviously there are ordinance protection, and I think all those interrelated pieces that would be beneficial to the county to have outside counsel. I don't have any expertise in that area. I'm certainly will help out wherever I can, but I think this is beneficial to the county. Yeah, sure that it's county protected.
And I reached out to Mike Galloway, who's also with Allers County. He does all our HR. So in the past, we have reached out for expertise in areas that we feel better serves us. And Mike got me in contact with Tim Whipple. I'll turn it over to Tim. Tim sent us an engagement letter, and I'll let you go through that, Tim.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. It's nice to get to know you and to know the other supervisors and Marcus. Our firm has a long-standing relationship with Shelby County, and we also do a lot of work with municipal utilities. My background, just for briefly, so that you all know a little bit of it, I started with the Iowa legislature as a lawyer for the legislature doing tax bills and economic development. I went to become the general counsel of the Economic Development Authority when it was created and changed over from the Department of Economic Development to the Economic Development Authority. I worked for a number of years as general counsel for the Municipal Utility Association before becoming general counsel of the American Energy. I left Mid-American, came to all our community, and now really work with municipal utilities like Harlan Municipal Utilities, Cedar Falls Utilities. I have a specialized practice in this area to work with the Iowa Utilities Board, to work with on federal regulations, and also on the local dimension of this with zoning ordinances and other local home rule issues. So the engagement letter is particular to the kind of work that you have with this project. We can take a look at the zoning ordinance that you can have a public hearing on today, both of the ordinances actually, and really analyze those and make some suggestions moving forward on how to refine those a little bit. Given that this is a pipeline project that is required to be permitted by the state of Iowa Utilities Board, the engagement letter really addresses any representation on needs you might have working with the state agency and the building process. So I really focus on those two main things. And that's just a little bit about my background and the engagement letter. I'm happy to take any questions from the supervisor.
Both of you guys have seen the engagement letter. Do you have any questions? Pretty self-explanatory on what they would do for us.
Sounds like you got a guy.
Yep. So, Mark, do you have anything to add?
I review the engagement letter as well, and any questions.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the engagement letter with all our three within ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Aaron, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Welcome aboard. Now we're going to move into the public hearing of ordinance 2022-02. And that is, well, I'm going to recess the regular meeting right now and move into the public hearing process. Okay? So the first ordinance we're going to be looking at is Shelby County Restoration and Damage Assessment Resolution, ordinance number 2022-2. Again, for somebody that came in late, if you want a copy of these ordinances, they're back on the back table. At this time, I'm going to have Mark read the resolution for that. Okay? Then, when he's done, I'm going to go over the ordinance. I'm not reading it word for word, page for page. I'm going to go through each page and highlight some of the key parts of it. Okay? Then after that, then we'll open it up for comments. Okay? Mark, would you read the resolution, please?
Resolution 22-42, Shelby County Restoration and Damages Assessment Resolution, approved ordinance number 2022-2. Whereas a number of companies have proposed to construct pipelines to the state of Iowa and Shelby County for the purpose of transporting carbon dioxide in a supercritical state, it is possible that additional such pipelines could be proposed. Whereas Iowa Code Section 479B3 and Iowa Administrative Code 199, Chapter 9, regulate restoration of agricultural land and recovery of agricultural damages on agricultural land caused by construction of hazardous liquid pipelines during and after pipeline construction. Whereas Iowa Code Section 479B3 and Iowa Administrative Code 199, Chapter 9 do not regulate restoration and damage recovery on county property, right-of-ways, easements, and non-agricultural lands within municipalities and the county. But such non-agricultural land should receive restoration and damage recovery protections comparable to those for agricultural land. Whereas Iowa Code 479B3 and Iowa Administrative Code 199, Chapter 9 grant county authority to specify procedures for restoration and damage recovery for agricultural properties in the county. And Iowa Code Chapter 335 grants county authority to implement land use controls to protect the general welfare of the county residents from the adverse financial and environmental impacts of pipeline construction and operation, including through establishing construction restoration standards and damage recovery procedures on non-agricultural lands. Whereas establishing an ordinance protecting our citizens, property owners, and public and private non-agricultural lands is a prudent justification to enact an ordinance regarding restoration standards and damage recovery procedures in Shelby County, Iowa. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Board of Supervisors for Shelby County, Iowa, that it adopts ordinance 2022-42 for a hazardous pipeline ordinance to implement and supplement county land restoration and damage assessment authority in accordance with Iowa Code annotated Chapter 479B.
Thank you. I'm going to start on the ordinance, page 1. The intent of this ordinance is to protect the residents and lands of Shelby County from physical and economic harm that may be caused by the construction of a hazardous liquid pipeline consistent with Iowa Code annotated Chapter 479B. Then we go on, we have restoration of the damage how it's recovered for agricultural land, we have the restoration for non-agricultural land, and the procedures on how that would work. The next page is really just definitions of the contents of the ordinance. That'll get you through to page 4. Restoration standards of agricultural land and restoration standards of non-agricultural land. They're all defined there in that section. The standard applicable for occupied residents. Pipeline companies shall construct a pipeline to minimize impact to occupied residents. When a pipeline passes within 1,000 feet of any occupied resident, the pipeline company shall implement the following. Pipeline company shall coordinate construction work schedule with affected resident owners prior to the start of construction. The pipeline company shall maintain access to any occupied residents at all times, except for periods when it's not feasible and they work it out with the residents. Pipeline company shall install temporary safety fencing to control access and minimize hazard associated with open trenching. Heavy equipment, the pipeline company shall notify residents of occupied, Pipeline company shall notify residents of occupied residences within 1,000 feet of construction no less than 48 hours in advance of any scheduled disruption. Then we move on to standards applicable to occupied businesses. Pipeline company shall construct pipeline to minimize impact of operating businesses. When a pipeline passes within 1,000 feet of occupied business, the pipeline company shall implement the following. And it goes through some of the same steps as I just talked about. Another highlight is restoration of water supply. In the event construction of a pipeline causes a water well or water supply to be diminished in quality or quantity, the pipeline company shall provide a comparable permanent replacement water supply to that pipeline owner at the pipeline owner's expense. Then we talked about restoration of county property. The pipeline company shall restore county property to at least its original condition or as regards. We have restoration of county roads. We go through that part of it. Control of county roads shall ensure appropriate timely maintenance so that we can do that to our county roads according to Chapter Iowa Code 306.4. Pipeline company shall complete an application of approval of underground and overhead construction of county highway right-of-way permits. Pipeline company shall be in coordination with the county and county inspector. Pipeline company shall pay a one-time non-refundable road survey application fee of $5,000 simultaneously at the time it submits its pre-construction survey, and an annual renewal fee of $500 per county roadway crossed by the pipeline in a related structure. It shall be paid by the pipeline company on the anniversary date of the completion of the pipeline in the county. County inspector, we will designate a county inspector, and that's required by the Iowa Administrative Code. The duties of the county inspector are in that code reference that we have there. Notice of inspection to affected landowners. The county inspector shall provide the following notice and cause pipeline company to provide notice to any affected landowner and all affected inspections, and those inspections are listed there. Notice of affected pipeline, landowner of pipeline company violations, how that process works. Notice to affected landowner of request for Board of Supervisors of violation. So that's one of the reasons we put this whole ordinance together, because this stuff is all in the Iowa code, and that way any citizen can pull this up on our website, the ordinances, and they know how the process works instead of having to try to figure the way through this whole process and try to make it simpler for you. Notice of affected landowners for request for a supervisor. Notice of affected landowners, a petition or complaint to the Iowa Utility Board, and how that process works. Damage compensation petitions. Termination or completion of the construction. Petition of the Compensation Commission. And that's where one of the bigger parts of the supervisor play a part in. One, if there's eminent domain issued, then we will have to set up a compensation board for the landowners who have not signed on. And then that compensation commission, after we go through district court judge and he sets the commission up, then they will come up with a fair, reasonable value for whatever that property is. Also, when the Board of Supervisors complete that the project is all completed, then after 90 days, after completion, then anybody who hasn't had their damages resolved through the pipeline company, again, we will set up the commission again, and then you will go through that same process. So that's all spelled out. Okay? Again, the application of compensation, notice of compensation hearings, service of notice of the compensation hearing, consolidation of compensation procedures, assessment of compensation, listed what's confidential information, severability, and that pretty much covers it. So it's spelled out in here for your protection. Okay? Then at this time, first I'm going to, Mark, do you have any written comments that need to be put on file? And if anybody has any written comments here, now is the time to bring them up. If you have anything that you want for the record.
We received no phone calls.
No phone calls? What about?
Documents.
Yeah, you did have one. They want from the public health board.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you have that?
Yes.
Okay, can you read that?
No, I don't have that with me. I thought you meant, I do not have that with me.
We should have all that stuff on record here. Does anybody have anything,
It's in the file
anything else they need to?
at the courthouse.
Okay,
I can bring it up on my email if you want.
okay, once you do
If you
that.
want it read.
Yeah, well, it's on file. So, nobody else has anything else?
Anything that's been filed with the utility, Iowa Utility
No.
Board?
No,
That's not?
no,
Okay.
that's your own. We have some injections there too, so no, that's not what
Okay,
this
sorry.
hearing's about.
We have a letter, Jake from Summit Carbon Solutions, we have a letter from our attorney to your attorney. I don't know if that is included.
Yep, Marcus.
Yes, I did receive a letter from an attorney from Ferguson, Byron, in Des Moines, Brett Lewinsky, representing some carbon solutions.
Okay.
And I did forward that to the board. I think that should be part of the records.
Okay. Okay, and we'll do that, thank you. So at this time, I'm setting up some guidelines for speaking here today. So the Shelby County Board of Supervisors welcomes public comment during hearings. In general, individual board members do not respond to public comment during this hearing. The following are guidelines for the public comment period during board hearings. These guidelines may be amended by the Board of Supervisors at any time. 1, each speaker is limited to no more than 3 minutes for speaking, and they must speak from the podium and must first state their name for the record. Comment should be directed to the board as a whole and should refrain from personal attacks. The board expects that each speaker will courteously and do modeling for our citizens of how one can respectfully disagree with our views. Again, each individual speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. Darren here will be our timer, and after the speaker addresses their name and has provided their name, the speaker should conclude their remarks when time is called. We're going to conduct today's hearings without sign-in forms for speaking order. We're going to try this today. See if this works. We expect everyone to politely take your turn. The speakers may line up single file behind the podium right here. So at this time, we'll start taking speakers. Okay?
I want to make it clear to everybody that all the documents anybody would want to inspect are in my office. And you just call and give it.
We'll let you go for now since we're doing the other ones. Okay. Anybody want to speak?
Hi, I'm Sherry Webb. I'm from Woodline, but my family's farm is in Shelby County. So my biggest concern is not necessarily damages, but it's there. Access to the property is a easement that is permanent for the farmer south of us because he has no other way of getting in. So that easement is not going to be able to be used by Summit Carpet if this thing happens. So what are they going to do about easements? The possibility exists that they'll have to build an easement for the farmer that farms our land also. We have rural water under our land, we have tile, and we have terraces. I am very concerned about the terraces in particular. Those were built a long, long time ago. The rural water is another issue. I mean, how are they going to go under that? If there's a leak, does it break the pipe? Carbonic acid is the result. Silver Creek is just down the hill from us. We have a hog confinement down the hill from us. If there is an explosion or a leak, and I know it doesn't explode, so to speak, but it unzips. If there's a leak and it unzips the entire length, it could be quite damaging. Valve stations, so many miles apart. Are they electric? Are you going to pull off the electric? Wi-Fi is another issue. I mean, how are they going to say there's something wrong here? Is there Wi-Fi that's going with this mess? There's a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm not sure that we've ever gotten answers to any of these things that we've asked in the past, or if we have, we've gotten an answer at one meeting and then an entirely different answer at another meeting. So I appreciate the three of you working, I'm sure it's more than the three of you, working very hard on these ordinances to watch out for us. I feel pretty good about being a Shelby County person, and I was born here, so I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to say, when you're speaking up on this ordinance, let's keep it on this ordinance. And you also, if you spoke this time for this ordinance, you also get 3 minutes for the next ordinance. But let's make sure I'm not saying you we're on subject, let's make sure we stay on subject, okay? So this ordinance is mostly about the process and the damage process, okay? Anybody else?
Good morning, everybody. I'll be very brief. I'm just going to speak one time.
Your name?
Jake Ketzner. I'm with Summit Carbon Solutions based out of Ames. I do have a one-pager on safety and then a letter from our attorney that anyone can have a copy of. First of all, thanks for having me this morning. It's great to be back in Shelby County. Just a really quick update on right-of-way for you. We now have 23 of the 62 landowners, so just shy of 40% of the landowners in Shelby County signed up via voluntary easement. Statewide, we have over 700 landowners and 1,200 easements signed up. It's about 270 miles that's now signed up. In Shelby County alone, those 23 tracts is about $1.7 million that we've dispersed to landowners for those voluntary easements. The one pager that I passed out, that has significant information regarding federal and state oversight of these projects, the rules that we must follow, and especially the Iowa Utility Board rules and PHMSA. So please take a look at that. And then you also have a copy of a letter from our attorney, which was sent yesterday. And that just, I'll let the letter speak for itself, but in short, it just talks about how the rules and regulations regarding pipelines are done at the state and federal level, and which would make this ordinance an issue. We definitely want to continue to keep working with the county and its citizens. So if you have questions or concerns that you don't have answers to, please send me an email and we'll make sure we get those answers for you right away. We certainly don't want anyone to have any questions that we can't answer. But I appreciate your time and thank you for having us today.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on this ordinance? Marcus, do you have anything? Tim? Okay. I'm going to take a motion to close this hearing. Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye. Okay. We are in regular session. And do I have because of this, okay, now it's under consideration ordinance 2022-02, the one we just went through and people had a chance to comment on. Do I have a motion to accept this hearing and approve the ordinance? Motion by Darren, or Charlie, excuse me. Second by Darren. Any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Now I'm going to recess this regular hearing again, and I'm going to open up public hearing ordinance 2022-03. That is the carbon dioxide pipeline risk minimization certificate ordinance. And at this time, I'm going to have Mark read the resolution of the ordinance.
Thank you. Whereas a number of companies have proposed to construct pipelines through the state of Iowa and Shelby County for the purpose of transporting carbon dioxide in a supercritical state, and it is possible that additional such pipelines could be proposed. Whereas in high atmospheric concentrations, carbon dioxide is an asphyxiant and intoxicant and levels at greater than 4% or 40,000 parts per million carbon dioxide is considered to be immediately dangerous to life and health. On February 22nd, 2020, a 24-inch diameter carbon dioxide pipeline ruptured approximately 1 mile from the town of Santeria, Mississippi, and caused a number of residents to become unconscious or intoxicated, required hospitalization of persons and evacuations of more than 200 persons. It also put the lives and welfare of local emergency response personnel at risk. Whereas county and municipalities within the county employ a number of emergency response personnel, including local sheriff's office, police, firefighters, and emergency medical service responders, and is responsible for ensuring the safety of these public servants through adequate training, knowledge, and access of personal protection equipment. Whereas a rupture of a carbon dioxide pipeline in county would likely release large amounts of carbon dioxide that could rise to dangerous levels near the rupture that could threaten the health and lives of county residents. Emergency response personnel and animals, including but not limited to valuable livestock and confined feeding facilities. Whereas a rupture of a carbon dioxide pipeline in a populated area could cause a mass casualty event. Whereas the county does not have access to scientific assessment of the area of risk that would result from a rupture of the carbon dioxide pipeline proposed to be constructed in the county, which can be estimated through the use of computer modeling. Whereas the state of Iowa through Iowa Code Chapter 29C requires county to participate and fund county level and regional emergency response planning for both natural and human-caused disasters through its joint county municipal local emergency management commission and agency, to support response to disasters in other Iowa counties, and to establish emergency communication measures to alert county residents of threats to their living and well-being. Whereas the state of Iowa, through Iowa Code Chapter 335, authorizes county to regulate non-agricultural uses of land and structures, including the use of building structures and land for trade, industry, residence, or other purposes, so as to secure the safety of county residents from fire, flood, panic, and other dangers, and to protect their health and general welfare. The existing emergency response plan for county does not, at present, evaluate the risk or plan for a response to a rupture of the carbon dioxide pipeline that is proposed to pass through the county. Whereas Iowa Code Section 479B, 1, authorizes the Iowa Utilities Board to approve the location and route of hazardous liquid pipelines, following consideration of alternative routes, but does not identify the factors that the board must consider in its decision when selecting a route. Whereas the Iowa Utilities Board does not have jurisdiction over emergency response in Iowa and has no expertise in emergency response planning. Whereas the General Assembly of the state of Iowa requires that county plan for a rupture of the proposed carbon dioxide pipeline and to protect its employees and residents from the effect of such rupture. Federal Pipeline Safety Act in 49 USC 60101 authorizes the U.S. Department of Transportation to regulate safety standards for design, construction, operation, and maintenance of hazardous liquid pipelines, including those that transport supercritical carbon dioxide. But 60104E of this law states that this chapter does not authorize the Secretary of Transportation to prescribe the location or routing of a pipeline facility, such that no federal regulation determines the location or route of hazardous liquid pipeline. Therefore, the state of Iowa, through the Iowa Utilities Board, may determine the route or location of a federally regulated hazardous pipeline based on such policy factors that it deems relevant. The state of Iowa may and must consider the risks of carbon dioxide pipeline when selecting a route for it, so as to prevent its construction overly near to residential buildings, high and vulnerable population buildings such as schools and nursing homes and confined animal facilities. Whereas the county seeks to require preparation of an estimate of the hazard zone resulting from a rupture of the carbon dioxide pipeline proposed to be constructed in the county for the purpose of selecting the least dangerous route through the county. Whereas county has authority to require information from a company that proposes to construct a carbon dioxide pipeline in county that will allow county to fulfill its statutorily required emergency planning duties and protect county emergency response personnel. Whereas the county action prohibiting selection of a route for proposed pipeline pending completion of county's assessment of the risk of such pipeline and identification of the lowest risk route for submission to the Iowa Utilities Board is consistent with and necessary to the Iowa Utilities Board's authority to select a route that is just and proper. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Board of Supervisors for Shelby County, Iowa, that it adopts its ordinance for a carbon pipeline risk minimization certificate program as follows.
Multiple. Thank you. Okay, the intent of this ordinance Protect the life and health. This ordinance is intended to protect life and health of Shelby County residents, their livestock, and the animals in the event of a rupture of the carbon dioxide pipeline through information gathering, emergency planning, and acquisition of emergency response equipment and training. Coordination of county emergency response authority with Iowa Utility Board authority to locate and route carbon dioxide pipeline. This ordinance is intended to coordinate with the implementation of the separate statutory authorities of the county and the Iowa Utility Board related to permitting the carbon dioxide pipeline. The county is obligated by Iowa Code Chapter 29C to conduct emergency planning for carbon dioxide pipeline ruptures by Iowa Code 335, to implement land use controls to secure the safety of county residents from the dangers of pipelines and to protect the health and general welfare of the county residents from the impact of pipeline operation. The Iowa Utility Board is obligated by Iowa Code Chapter 49B to authorize the location and routes of the pipeline following consideration of alternative routes on such terms, conditions, and restrictions as it finds to be just and proper. But the statute does not identify or limit the factors considered in its route selection process. The county finds that the proximity of the operating of carbon dioxide pipeline to residents and businesses creates a risk of life, health, and safety to the persons occupying such structures, and the proximity of the carbon dioxide pipeline to the livestock creates a risk of loss of such livestock. The county finds that such risks require mitigation through emergency planning, first responder training, and provisioning, and the route selection to avoid pipeline construction and operation overly near county residents and buildings. Accomplishing these goals requires the coordination of the county and the Iowa Utility Board administrative process. The objective of this ordinance is to provide for such coordination, as doing so is consistent with Iowa Code Chapter 29C, 335, and 49B. In accordance with the home rule powers granted to counties by the Iowa Constitution, Article 339A, to enact and enforce ordinances not consistent with the laws of the General Assembly. Then the next part of the section is on definitions throughout the ordinance. Carbon dioxide pipeline emergency response plan. Prior to construction of carbon dioxide pipeline, the county shall prepare and approve an emergency response plan in the event of a rupture of such pipeline. The contents. The carbon dioxide pipeline emergency response plan must contain the following. We list like it has a map and legal description of the proposed route. It has a discussion of health risks resulting from exposure of humans and animals to carbon dioxide released from the pipeline. An estimate of the worst case discharge of carbon dioxide released in metric tons and standard cubic tons from a rupture of a pipeline, considering the internal volume of the pipeline, the location of the emergency valves that limit the release of the carbon dioxide, the location of crack arresters, operating pressures, operating temperatures, and other relevant factors. A rupture dispersion modeling report containing the results of the computation fluid dynamic computer model estimates of the maximum geographic ranges of a fatality zone and a hazard zone for the carbon dioxide pipeline in the event of its rupture, in a range of weather conditions and represented topography in the county, as well as the low elevation of the county where released carbon may settle. Computer model report showing the black zone for carbon dioxide pipeline. A list of structures and facilities within the hazard zone, the fatality zone, and the blast zone. A list of high consequence areas defined as areas within the hazard, fatality, and blast zone where a single rupture could have potential to adversely affect 10 or more persons or a facility with 100 or more livestock. A discussion of potential adverse impacts of a rupture of a carbon pipeline on humans, livestock, and other real and property of a hazard zone, fatality zone, and blast zone. Identify alternative routes to minimize the risk to humans and animals from a rupture. Identifying county first responders, emergency information, planning, equipment, training needed. Identification of residential and business emergency response needs, including but not limited to mass notification and emergency messaging. Evacuations plan, evacuation equipment needs, especially for the impaired. Need a draft plan, fees and expenses. The county may enter into such contracts with pipeline safety consultants as necessary to prepare county emergency plans, response plans. Notice and hearing, Board of Supervisors actions. So we have a notice and hearing for supervisors following public notice and opportunity to comment in accordance with applicable county and state administrative procedures. The County Board of Supervisors shall consider and approve a county emergency response plan that minimizes the risk of adverse effects of a carbon dioxide pipeline rupture on humans and livestock within the county. Emergency response plan implementation costs. The Shelby County Board of Supervisors shall require that the developer of proposed carbon pipeline provide or reimburse the county or municipalities within the county for the cost of emergency response planning, equipment, communication, training, and costs implemented related to the implementation of the county emergency response plan. Prerequisite for construction: no carbon pipeline may be constructed in the county until the commission has approved the county emergency response plan for such pipeline. Referral to the Emergency Management Commission. The county shall provide an approved emergency response plan to the commission and request inclusion of the plan in the county's comprehensive emergency response plan required by Iowa Code 29C.98. Plan update. The operator of the carbon dioxide pipeline shall on a yearly basis by November 1st provide a report to the county identifying all significant operational and physical changes to the pipeline that may impact emergency response planning. Carbon dioxide pipeline route risk minimization certificate. Route certificate required. A developer of proposed carbon dioxide pipeline shall apply for a route risk minimization certificate from the County Board of Supervisors. Where carbon dioxide pipeline developer has submitted a route application to the Iowa Utility Board under Iowa Code Chapter 49B before the effective date of this ordinance, it must submit an application for certificate within 90 days of this effective date. Where a carbon dioxide pipeline developer permit such application has submitted such an application to the Iowa Utility Board after the effective date of this ordinance, such developer must submit its application for a route risk minimization certificate on the same day that it files its application with the Iowa Utility Board. No carbon dioxide pipeline may be constructed in the county without the certificate. Contents. The application for a route risk minimization certificate shall, at the minimum, include the following: proposed alternative routes, dispersion modeling report, route risk minimization analysis, recommended setback. Approval. Board of Supervisors actions. We list notice of hearing, following public notice, and an opportunity to comment in accordance with applicable county and state administrative procedures. The Shelby County Board of Supervisors shall consider and if found adequate, approve a route risk minimization certificate within 90 days of the date of application, but in any event, at a time so that the Utility Board may consider the certificate within its route approval hearing for the carbon dioxide pipeline. The route risk minimization certificate shall at least include the following: a construction of a pipeline within 1,000 feet of all occupied residents and businesses in animal confinement. The Shelby County Board of Supervisors may increase or decrease a setback based on the recommendations and data in the county emergency response plan, where no alternative route to the county is practical given the locations of the occupied structure. Recommended route. The certificate shall contain a recommended route within the county that, in accordance with the county emergency response plan, minimizes the potential adverse effects of a carbon dioxide pipeline rupture on humans and then livestock. Variance. The developer of the carbon dioxide pipeline may apply for a variance from a setback contained in the approved certificate. The application for variance must include computer modeling showing that the carbon dioxide pipeline hazard zone is less than 1,000 feet or such other distance selected by the county. The route section costs. The Shelby County Board of Supervisors shall require the developer of the proposed carbon pipeline to provide or reimburse the county for the cost of a route risk minimization certificate process. Prerequisites for construction. No carbon pipeline may be constructed in the county until the commission has approved a route risk minimization certificate for such pipeline. Referral to the Iowa Utility Board. The county shall provide the approved route risk minimization certificate to the Iowa Utility Board and request that the board include the setbacks and recommended route within any permit issued by it under Iowa Code Chapter 49B. The purpose of the route risk minimization certificate is to provide critical county-level safety information to the Iowa Utility Board for its consideration when it selects a route in the county. So, at this time, we will take comments from the public. Again, this is focused on this ordinance. State your name, and we will start that process.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Janice Hall. I'm Mayor of Burling. It was brought to our city council attention probably the first of the year that there was a proposal of pipeline coming within a half mile of Burling. So we put some thoughts down, why we might object to it. We put mainly, Burling is a small, quaint, rural farm town. Our population is approximately 397, with the majority of farmers retiring and moving into town. The rest of the population are working-class citizens that are currently working in larger cities such as Denison and Harlan. Our local fire department is strictly volunteer, and they are local citizens or farmers in Burling or nearby. They have not been advised of any such pipeline coming so close to the town. We have issues of trying to figure out how our fire department would be able to handle a crisis regarding the leakage of pipeline. The plans for the pipeline to go on the east side of Burling, where we have a beautiful park in the ball field. During the summer, there's many kids that are down at the parks or at the ball field unsupervised. So this is where they have no adult supervision. So if something would happen, who would help our kids? Also, that we are just done in the process of completing our creek mitigation, which is opening up the park to be more spaces for recreation use. No protection. How fast can we have a response to a crisis with the pipeline? That is our biggest fear. We also have our water supply from rural water. It also comes in on the east side of Burling. So we have a lot that is affecting the city coming into on that side. So that is my objection, and we would like to have some answers before we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Webb. I have the same concerns. Shelby County, I'm not going to go through anyway.
Okay.
To my knowledge, Shelby does not have a volunteer fire department. So anyone in the area we're in, as far as our farm and the hog confinement and our neighbors, would not have an immediate response whatsoever. They would have to wait for somebody from Harlan to come. And if you need a hazmat, you're looking at Council Bluffs. So, and they are not sitting there ready to go. They have to get all their stuff together. This is a very scary subject. And after watching the video of the test explosion on an 8-inch line, and there's going to be some 24 in Iowa, that's extremely scary. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I did pull up our public, I'll take it, Mark, read. Here's a letter from our public health on this ordinance.
Shelby County Board of Health, after reviewing potential risk factors associated with carbon capture and storage processes and the subsequent piping through Shelby County, expresses concern for the risk of CO2 exposure to humans, the environment, and to livestock. Concerns related to the pressurized CO2 include CO2 must be under tremendous pressure to be in liquid form for transport, creating the potential for a pipeline rupture. A pipeline break could be catastrophic. CO2 is an asphyxiant and toxicant. It is odorless and colorless, making a slow leak difficult to detect. CO2 freezes skin on contact. In high enough concentrations, it will kill humans, pets, and livestock. First responders and hospitals may not be prepared for a mass toxic gas incident. At this time, Shelby County Board of Health recommends that CO2 pipeline routes are kept at least 1,000 feet from all residents until an updated emergency response plan is approved and recommended otherwise. The distance between pipelines and homes may give residents enough time to evacuate and prevent fatalities should a leak in the pipeline or a pipeline rupture occur. The Board of Health respectfully requests that the public health concerns are addressed to protect the health and safety of Shelby County residents until an updated emergency response plan is approved and recommended otherwise. Signed by the Shelby County Board of Health Chair, Phil.
Is there any other written comments out there from anybody? Go ahead.
Alex Londo, I'm the emergency management coordinator for Shelby County. I just wanted to make a quick comment. We are the primary emergency planning organization for the county. We're required under 29C to have comprehensive emergency plans developed and updated every 5 years. And in your ordinance, you reference a lot of those. And I just wanted to say that if this is to go forward or whatever it is, I think it is very important that we do plan for that, and we do have very substantial plans built for this. And planning is very important. As it's said here today that we only have one full-time firefighter in the county. Everyone else is volunteer. And our hazmat team is a tri-county hazmat team, so we don't have someone who is in county ready to go at any time. So it's going to require a lot of planning and safety planning up front, but I think that's very important to do. So that's the emergency management standpoint on it. We're willing to help any way we can.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Anyone else? Okay, entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Next on the agenda, consideration of ordinance 2022-3. That's the one that we just heard the hearing on. Do I have a motion to accept the hearing and approve the ordinance?
Second.
Motion by Darren, second by Charlie. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration to cancel the scheduled hearings for August 16th and August 23rd. The reason that's on there today is, as you've seen from the agenda earlier, we brought a new legal counsel on board, and by taking into consideration the written comments today and comments from the public under consideration, my recommendation is that we cancel the next two hearings, give our new legal counsel 2 weeks So that'd be the 16th is our next scheduled hearing, to come back with a recommendation to either move forward with the next second and third hearing, if there's no to minimal changes to our ordinance. If there's major changes that totally disrupt our existing ordinance, then we would start the process over again and set 3 hearing dates. You guys agree with that assessment?
Yes.
I think that would, and that should give, Tim, will that give you enough time to review and come back with some recommendations?
2 weeks is enough time to come back with some recommended changes to both of these ordinances.
Okay. And then a question I have for Mark. Mark, when we set this process up last time, was it like 4 days to 20 days or something like that? Because we have to get notices in the paper, go through that process.
Right,
to
so
set
they
the
have to
dates.
have a week's notice, so it can't just happen just like that. We have to get these guys
So-
have to have a meeting, approve it, then I have to notify the paper, and I have to know all this stuff in advance before the
Right.
meeting to time it just right.
Right. So my suggestion would be that on the 16th, we have a tentative schedule. If he comes and says, if Tim comes and says, okay, we're going to continue on, what those dates look like for the second and third hearing. Okay? If he comes back and says, we need to start this process over, then we need to have 3 dates, to start the process.
Right.
So I'm going to ask
They could
you.
be regular meetings, or they could be special meetings,
Right.
however you guys decide.
I think moving forward, and you can see it gets kind of drawn out here, that in order to conduct our business in a timely manner with our regular meetings, we should set up these meetings all special. So we can do our regular business, because you can see we have 19 things on the agenda today. So we'll have our schedule, like the 16th, there will be no public hearings, I guarantee you that, okay? And that's the time we'll plan moving forward. We'll conduct our regular business, and we'll set the dates, whether it's 2 dates or 3 dates, on the 16th. But I want you to have kind of a plan in place, because the way I understand what you're saying, on the 16th, whether we approve 2 days or 3, we have to start that process a week later, a special hearing, correct? Or approximately.
It would be 7 days before it could be published.
Before it even be published?
That's correct.
Okay,
So if we have a meeting on Tuesday, the next Monday, it would be in that paper.
whatever it is, but I'd like to have those 2 options there so we know what we can go with some dates. And I'll work with you on that.
Unless I can get some special consideration from the newspaper, maybe get a bit on
Okay,
that.
well, you can check into that. So, I want to be very transparent. That's what we're looking to do. I think it'll be a better, stronger plan moving forward, and everybody knows how the process is going to work. And I'm going to guarantee you one thing. Whatever the process is, there's going to be 3 hearings, okay? So, because we do have the luxury of having a hearing, and what our process has been in the past, if there hasn't been any objections, we suspend the second and third hearings. Cities, counties do that a lot. We're not doing that in this process. Okay, so I want you everybody to know that. You're going to go through 3 hearings. Okay, because there's a lot of views on both sides. So we're going to hear all those views. Okay, we're going to go through the process. Okay? You guys agree with that?
No, I do agree, because there also will be more information coming out during that process.
Yeah.
Is there a timeline? Do those meetings have to be so far apart beside your timelines as far as, okay, so we could have 3?
You can do them all the same week. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll also look, I don't know what Tim's going to come back with, but whether these 2 hearings are still going to be tag teamed together, or the 2 ordinances, or if one's going to be different than the other time frame. I'm going to let that up to whatever recommendation he comes with. So. You guys, Tim, you or Marcus have anything to add to?
My only comment, I can set a canceling the scheduled hearing for the 16th and 23rd, I would say,
Table?
either table that or reschedule that, because we don't know what's in
Right.
which comments are going to be, so I would.
Okay, so that brings up a question. Whichever direction we go, since the 23rd, because we're going to use the 16th and that's already gone, you know, we're not going to have a hearing. But the 23rd, could that still be a hearing date to get it started again since we've already had it published?
I think, Marcus, aren't what he's saying, is we could leave 16th as the hearing date, but if he shows up and says, no, it's too much.
You know, if Tim comes back and says, you know, I don't have the minor comments, then I think you can still have the 60.
You can still have a second hearing.
The only problem I have with that is if it doesn't, then people showed up for nothing. That's my only concern. And so I would have to be very transparent that there's nothing that day, and we will reschedule this. I mean, we don't have a deadline here, do we?
But people aren't really showing up for nothing either, because they're gonna want, if there's major changes, they're gonna want to know what those major changes are.
Well, and then they can. Okay, I'm gonna refer, what do you think?
If you don't put it on the agenda, they can't vote on it.
Well, we have to put it on, but you can put it on the agenda and then,
Or don't,
And then-
it's 24 hours, and if there's major changes, don't put it on the agenda, then you cannot vote, you can't vote on it. I don't know if that
Well,
makes sense.
probably the best thing to do, and maybe Tim can comment on this too, but probably just to table the second, and if there were readings pending Tim's comments.
Right.
If that's-
That's what I would entertain. a
On
motion
that day,
To,
table it on that day.
table
Table it now.
table it.
That's what I said.
So, the chair would call today for a motion to table the scheduled public hearing pending further review and revisions. And you can hold a public meeting on the 16th and publish a new version of the ordinance after that with new dates and new publication of the newspaper.
Excuse the 16th to introduce.
Yes, we're just tabling those two in case we need to use them
Right.
instead of
And
canceling.
then reschedule them for.
Yeah, if there's major changes, we're gonna have to start over anyway, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The risk is that if you make minor revisions, scrivener's errors, things like that, not a big deal. But if you decide to make relatively substantial revisions to an ordinance,
Yeah,
there's not enough public notice, arguably, and so it's prudent at times to restart the whole process to make sure that the substantial revisions get the same treatment as the original ordinance.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I would entertain a motion to table those 2 dates and wait for a recommendation to come back from Tim.
Make that motion.
Okay, so motion by Charlie, second by Darren, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay, thank you, everyone. If anybody wants to leave, our next one is going to be a public hearing on our budget amendment. So, thank you, and we'll see what the 16th brings. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to recess our regular meeting again, go into our public hearing on fiscal year budget 2023 budget amendments. Mark?
Okay, what it is mostly it's ARPA. It looks like a large amount. Total budget amendment of $3,700,000, but all it is ARPA money and allowing bond expenditures. And so that's what the lion's share of this is.
It's been about a month or so since we went over that.
Correct. Correct. And I sent you, gentlemen, information on it. Health insurance and salaries, equipment, maintenance and repairs, environmental health transfers. And that's 30, 55, $70,000.
Yeah.
It was simply under budgeted in the current fiscal years.
That's kind of what our estimate was before, to be between that 50 and 100,000, so it's still right there.
And historically, that's where we're at. And these are taxpayer, Shelby County property tax dollars. The balance of that $3.7 million is money that has come in from bond funds and ARPA funds and other sources.
That's in this current year's budget.
Yeah. And I've had no public comment on any other. In the explanation of the changes, I guess that's the easiest thing to look at, the legal document, allowing for bond proceeds, the ARPA grant, credits received by conservation, expenditures are in there, water well grants, that totals $3.655 million, incorrect judgments for budgeting accounts for $60,000 in spending that will be needed. So,
Okay. Appreciate you going through all that.
yeah,
No written comments? I haven't had any comments. You guys? No. Is there any comments from the public at this time? Neil, you're just dying to come up here right now.
I've got none.
Okay. Mark, do you have any comments?
Although part of that ARPA fund is probably expenditures with our new school resource officer. Part of that, so it's here.
That's a good problem.
If anybody had any questions.
Yeah. That's been a good program for everybody. Okay. Well then, do I have a motion to close the hearing? Motion by Charlie, second by Darren. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Do I have a motion to approve the amendments Mark has presented? Move by Darren. Second by Charlie. Do you have any other questions from Mark? Mark, do you have any other comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Supervisor committee reports. Anybody got any reports?
I have none. Todd already covered the Swipco page. It's going to be on it, so that's all.
Okay. Again, I'm on the ambulance ad hoc committee, and we meet pretty much every Thursday unless there's been some conflicts. I know there's going to be a few people gone for this Thursday, so I'm not for sure yet if Alex has decided yet whether we're going to have that meeting or not.
I'm sending out an email today, but we likely won't. I've talked to everybody, but I think the consensus is we'll just push back.
Okay, which don't make any difference, but we're looking at whether having the ambulance, because Medevac, they have a 4-year contract left, but also they're looking at maybe retirement early if some things can get worked out. And so we're looking at, do we do a private service, continue like with Medevac? Do we have the hospital be kind of the main place where the ambulance service would work out for the county and work with the volunteers? Or is it countywide and run through the county through EMS? We brought in, Carroll runs theirs through the county, Ray runs theirs through the county. We brought them in last week. Heard theirs works. Carroll's been operating for 50 plus years, so they're old pros at it, and that's what everybody would like to be like, because they really are very efficient. Ray County just started in 18, has a few hiccups, but it's run a lot like, I'm gonna say a lot like ours is right now, and they're just trying to subsidize the volunteers and the hospitals and the cities, how they're doing it. So everybody has a different way of doing it, and so we're looking at what works best for us, and a big part of it is who has the best chance of hiring EMTs, paramedics, and there's some pros and cons in that area. And I feel that right now, the counties in the state of Iowa, it's not listed as a critical service. but the governor and the legislature has allowed us in the last few years to take a vote on that with the vote of the people. And if they like the plan, feel ambulance service needs to be here, part of the county, is when someone calls 911, they don't think how the process is, they expect somebody to be there. Well, it's not that way everywhere, and it's getting harder with less volunteers out there to help. Response time, we don't want response time to go backwards. And so, but it's about a 16 to 24 month process, depends when you start it, to hold a vote, and if the vote passes, start getting the funds coming in to fully fund it. You'll get funds in April, you'll get funds in October. So it's a long process, and we have to see what's the best plan as far as getting one of these in place. And so would you say that's kind of where we're at, Alex, Neil? So it's not an easy process, it's pretty complex too. And working together as a team with volunteers, the hospital, the city, the county. So we're working on that diligently, and hopefully, I'm going to hope here in the next 2-3 weeks, we kind of have a direction so we can start informing the public of the direction we're hoping to take. So, okay. Anything else?
One thing.
Okay.
So the ad, or the legal notice was in today's paper for the 16th. Because Thursdays have to be, that would be the second notice, and that's legally required, but we're, just leave it in there, right? For
I would say the point you is we're tabling it, so we just need to know it.
Okay, then next week is for the 23rd. We can yank those,
No?
leave them in there too?
I think I still need to.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, we could be out,
Just let us
be
know.
out that,
Thank you.
we could be out the notice fees, but we don't know. Unless you say different.
No, it doesn't hurt anything. I think you'd be better off with it.
Because we didn't cancel it, table.
Okay, just, it's just details.
Yeah, I know. More work for you. Okay. Any comments from the public? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.